Good evening, councillors, and welcome to our council meeting this February 24th. Welcome also to members of the public, whether they be here in person or watching on live stream, together with our security team and our officers without whom we wouldn't all be here anyway. So thank you to them and welcome. If any member of the public objects to being part of the live stream, please do advise us immediately and we will ensure that you're not included in the filming. With so many of us in this room, I politely ask everybody to keep background noise to a minimum. Please turn all mobile phones and computers to silent so that we don't get disturbed by beeps and bobs. I also ask members to refrain from interrupting speakers during the debate. All should be coming through me. I don't know whether that may sound... The debate must be undertaken through me as chair. And should anybody wish to use the hearing aid loop, please say so and an officer will assist you with that. Can I ask you to ensure that you have inserted your cards into the right-hand slot in your microphones and that you've pressed the enter meeting prompt on the screen. As always, I will be using the cue to speak function. Therefore, if you wish to speak, press your microphone button and it will go green. That means you are in the queue and I'm aware that you wish to speak. When it goes red, you will be able to speak, but you do not have to press the button again. It messes it up if you do. Thank you. Now, before I start, I should like to begin with a moment to remember the former Forest Heath District Councillor, Councillor Roger Crane, who sadly passed away just before Christmas. Roger was elected in a by-election to Lakenheath Ward in 1984, and he served for 23 years until 2007. Now, during that time, he held the positions of chairman of the Forest Heath District Council, and that was in 1994 to 1995, and chairman of the Planning Committee. For many years, Roger played an active and dedicated role in the life of the Lakenheath community. His commitment to local activities and his long-standing involvement made him a well-known and respected figure in the village. Although later in life he moved to Hertfordshire for family reasons, his connection to Lakenheath remained strong. And to the very end of his life, Roger continued to speak of Lakenheath as his true home. Now, I'd like to invite everybody please to stand and we will observe a minute's silence for Roger. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. Right, so turning to the agenda, I start with item number 1, which is the minutes. May I please have a proposer for the approval of the minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of December 2025? Councillor Waterman, thank you. I would like a seconder. Who would like to second this? Councillor Lacanic, second. Are there any comments on the minutes before I move to a vote? Nope. So I will now take the vote. Members, please do raise your hands clearly in the air so that we can see it and count it nicely. Those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. The minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of December 2025 are confirmed as an accurate record. Item number 2 is the Chair's announcements undertaken since the last ordinary meeting on the 16th of December. It was a very busy period, and I'll leave it at that because you all have a list, and we've got a long meeting tonight, so I won't bore you with anything of that nature. Moving swiftly on to item number 3, announcements to include apologies for absence. So I invite the monitoring officer to make any announcements and inform us of the apologies for absence received. Teresa.
Thank you, Chair. We've received apologies for absence from councillors Mick Bradshaw, Dawn Dicker, Roger Dicker, John Griffiths, Andy Neal, Joe Rayner, Luke Halpin and Tracy Whitehand.
Thank you very much, Teresa. Thank you. And I shall now move on to item number 4, which is declarations of interest. And I would like to remind members of their responsibility to declare any interest no later than when that agenda item is reached. And I'll give you the opportunity now. Are there any interests that you wish to be declared right now? I see no hands, so thank you very much for that. Public participation, item number 5. On this occasion, no members of the public have been registered themselves to speak, so we will move swiftly on to item number 6, which is the leader's statement. Now, members may ask the leader questions on the content of his statement or indeed any other council matter. 5 minutes is allowed for each question to be asked and answered. The leader may invite responses from portfolio holders if he so requires or decides. And there's a maximum time allocation of 30 minutes for this item. So, Councillor Waterman, leader of the council, I ask you to make your statement. Thank you.
Right. Good evening, everyone. And I'm going to take my cue from Chair, and we've got a busy night, so I'm going to try and be as brief as I can. So let's start. Obviously, you've all read and inwardly digested my statement. Obviously, if there's any questions on that, I'll be happy to answer them. But I've got a few things I'd like to add. The first thing is about the budget. This is one of the really important things that any council has to do, to set a balanced budget for the year. And the budget we have before us is the result of an enormous amount of hard work, both by councillors and officers, to make sure we've got a sustainable and robust budget that actually gives value for money to our residents. This year we were able to have a 2-year balanced budget, thanks to, for the first time in many years, a 3-year settlement from the government. I won't say much more about it, but we'll have a robust debate, I'm sure, when we get to that item on the agenda. Moving to Haverhill, and this is not a happy thing. Haverhill is a very happy thing, but what I'm about to say is not happy, because a couple of weeks ago, we were informed that the East Anglian Daily Times had written a frankly scurrilous article about Haverhill, saying, completely misrepresenting a a report that was brought out by a company of estate agents. And it was a report that listed the best towns in England. And somehow the East Anglian Daily Times turned it into a bad news story. So Haverhill, one of the best towns in England, East Anglian Daily Times turns it into let's have a go at Haverhill story. We wrote, the town council wrote, I think individual councillors wrote as well to the editor. The upshot is that there was a meeting a couple of weeks ago now of the mayor of Haverhill, myself, the town clerk, our communications chief, and what their reporter for Western Suffolk, which he promised he would take away some ideas for writing positive stories about Haverhill. And I'll say this again, and I'll keep saying it until people believe me that I'm sincere, which I very much am. Haverhill is a brilliant place. I know from talking to people who live in Haverhill, they are incredibly proud of their town. And I know the councillors in the room of whatever party from Haverhill agree with me on that. That's not to say Haverhill's perfect, nowhere's perfect. And as we'll see when we get to the budget debate, this council is giving a bit of focus this year on Haverhill. The other thing I meant to say was that I've also got a meeting coming up with the editor of the East Anglian Daily Times. I'm going to make it absolutely clear to her that we are not going to put up with any town or any village, any part of West Suffolk being misrepresented in the press. So, moving on, I just wanted to say a couple of things about local government reorganisation. This seems to have taken up most of my life for the last year or so. We are almost at the end game in terms of a decision, we hope. We're told the decision will be made sometime before the end of March. Obviously, there are two proposals on the table for Suffolk. One is the One Suffolk proposal from the County Council. I won't say anything about that because we all know what we think about that. And this council is very clearly supporting the idea of local councils. So we're very much supporting the Suffolk to the power of three proposal. However, whichever proposal is finally adopted by the government, we will work our very best to make sure that those new unitary councils are a success. And I'll be honest with you, I think unitarisation is going to be one of the best things that's happened to local government in a long time, certainly since the last reorganisation 50 years ago, because it will stop that ridiculous situation which we see time and again, where this council or one of the other district or borough councils in Suffolk and the county council end up not exactly at loggerheads, but not being able to quite work together very well. And sometimes it's just purely through a lack of communication. Sometimes it feels a bit like Big Brother not listening to younger siblings. Last week was Apprenticeship Week, and something I'm very keen to promote is the whole idea of apprenticeships. They're brilliant. This council has apprentices. They do really good work. It gives them a real boost to their career. And last year we had 18 apprentices who completed their apprenticeship. And there may even be people in this room, I don't know, who did apprenticeships and have gone on to the great things you've done in your life. So very much something that's worth celebrating. And then finally, I just want to say a few words of praise for our two brilliant local MPs. One of the jobs I have as leader of the council is have regular meetings with our MPs. And as you know, we've got one MP for West Suffolk constituency, confusingly, and another one for Bury St Edmunds and Stowmarket, which obviously covers part of West Suffolk. And I'll be honest with you, in the previous government, I did not enjoy those meetings. They were not fruitful. They were not friendly. They often ended up in, they rarely ended up in a meeting of mine. So I have to say that I now think we have two really good MPs. We've got Nick Timothy in West Suffolk, and I've had many fruitful meetings with Nick. I'm particularly pleased with the way he's taken on board the Pride in Place initiative, which the government has introduced, which sees up to £20 million of investment coming into Lakenheath. And as I say, Nick's really taken enthusiastically to that, working along with Gerald, who is leading it for West Suffolk Council. And the other MP we have is Peter Prinsley, the MP for Bury St Edmunds and Stowmarket. And he and his team organised a really good meeting a couple of weeks ago to launch the Bury St Edmunds Town of Culture bid. And that brought together lots of the great and the good. I'm not sure they were all that great. I'm not sure they were that good, really, because I was there, but you know what I mean. And now the community in Bury is launching that with the help of our MP. And I have to say, there are two other towns that I know of that are going to enter that competition. One is Newmarket, and the other one is Haverhill. And reassuringly for Bury, and reassuringly for Newmarket and Haverhill, we're in different categories. So Bury is a medium-sized town because we're under 70,000 but above 40, and Haverhill and Newmarket are both below 40, so they're small towns. And obviously we all wish any of them the best of luck, and wish all the community organisations in those towns that are pursuing those bids, with the support of West Suffolk Council, all the success in the world. So with that, I'll finish and hand over to the Chair to ask you to ask questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Captain. Are there any questions? Yes, there are. Could I start with Rachel Hood, please? Councillor Rachel Hood. Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to ask a couple of questions, please, but I'm very happy to recognise the good work that West Suffolk Council has outlined in your statement. My question pertains to Newmarket. Newmarket has a deficit of sports facilities, and I want to talk about the St Felix project, which has been a joint project with Suffolk County Council and West Suffolk. Rather unexpectedly, in the last few weeks, West Suffolk rushed out a statement questioning the viability of this long proposed sports and community hub project at the Suffolk County Council-owned St Felix site, and questioned Suffolk County Council's commitment to provide £2 million for that project in addition to the land. So for avoidance of doubt, I want to confirm, as has already been confirmed, that Suffolk County Council remain fully committed to providing the £2 million. And furthermore, they've been providing works at the site so that this sports and community hub can be built. I was going to outline those works, but I won't, because probably that's not necessary, but various works have been done that will mean that if the hub is built there, it will be less expensive than being built somewhere else. So West Suffolk, we know, is committed to the £2 million, so that makes £4 million and a site. But unfortunately, suddenly all sorts of excuses are being made, suggesting that the site isn't viable, and the excuses I've heard don't stack up. And what I think has become clear, and this goes to the heart of my question, West Suffolk Council has not prepared or delivered a sports strategy, despite meeting with local councillors and all Newmarket sports clubs, of which there are many, 18 months ago. As a result of this and the statement from West Suffolk, last night Newmarket Town Council passed various motions, including one asking West Suffolk Council to provide a sports strategy, and also asking West Suffolk and Suffolk County Council to work together to sort out this apparent problem, which actually some of us didn't realise was a problem until the very recent past. So, to my question, please, can we have a commitment from West Suffolk that West Suffolk Council will urgently prepare and provide a sports strategy after this very long time, and confirmation that West Suffolk Council will work with Suffolk County Council to resolve this outstanding matter, because I'm sure we would all hate to see this £4 million disappear, and Newmarket has been, I regret to say, very badly served by not having a sports strategy. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Hood. Just a few pick you up on a couple of words. Rushed out. I don't think our statement was rushed out. It was very carefully considered, and it's not really a hub that's been proposed at St Felix. That makes it sound too grand. It's a very modest sports facility that was proposed, and it's not been a glorious success for either council. I'll be honest with you. It has taken a lot of time and effort and energy that feels like it could have been better spent. But the bottom line is that to build a sports facility in the current St Felix site would not be in the interests of the residents of Newmarket and would not be a good use of the money. So I was very glad to hear about the motion that was passed at Newmarket Town Council last night, I think it was, which very much aligns with the approach that West Suffolk is taking with this. And for the removal of any doubt, the £2 million is ring-fenced for spending in Newmarket on sporting facilities. And I know from my own contacts with Suffolk County Council that their £2 million is ring-fenced. And we will be bringing forward proposals for how we can move forward on that very shortly. But yes, rest assured, Rachel, we are fully committed to improving the sports facilities in Newmarket.
Am I allowed to come back? Okay.
Thank you, Cliff. I will now go to Councillor Marks, if I may, please.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the leader very much for supporting Haverhill in the face of that extremely damaging statement by the press. We all know that sensationalism sells newspapers, but I think that was a step too far. I was also very grateful that the leader came to the Croft. And I think, looking at your face when you were shown around, you were really quite surprised at what you saw. And I feel very much that perhaps councillors in this room, and that includes me, I don't know what goes on in other areas, and I think possibly they don't know what goes on in Haverhill, which is really important if we're going to support each other. As you know, they will be opening a new paddle court, and I would like to ask the leader to ensure that all councillors, or as many as possible, support that initiative, and when it is opened, that you come along and show solidarity for what's going on in Haverhill. It's a really important project. I would really like to see it promoted through our comms, perhaps, and shown what we are doing in Haverhill. There are many things in Haverhill, and I know that you have agreed to come along to the men's shed also, and hopefully you will promote that. And I look forward to hearing your comments on both of those places. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Margaret. How could I refuse an invitation from Councillor Marks? It's not possible. I wasn't surprised by the Croft so much as impressed, I think was the word I would use. It is a really impressive facility. And I mean, what's particularly impressive about it is it's community generated. And I think that's the best way that things can be made a success of. I have actually promised to have a game of paddle with you, Margaret. Although at the moment, I'm going to have to cry off because I've got a dodgy knee. So we may have to do a rain check on that. And I'm looking forward to coming to the men's shed as well. So thank you very much. And I'm sure every single councillor will echo your comments about Haverhill. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would now like to move, if I may, to Councillor Mason, please.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Margaret Marks has rather stolen some of my thunder. It is not often necessarily there's a meeting of minds between myself and the leader. We don't always agree on things, although I do appreciate that we're equally passionate in wanting the best for our communities. Can I just say how appreciative I was when I attended Cabinet, that his immediate instinct and reaction was one that was genuine outrage about the report, and I thought that came across really strongly and something that I was particularly appreciative of. Haverhill is a complex, diverse town culturally. It's got world-class sporting facilities, as mentioned at the New Croft. We've got wonderful parks looked after by West Suffolk Council. I cannot think of another place with as many charities, local organisations and good causes run by so many volunteers who give up their time for free that make Haverhill the special place that it is. That newspaper report, you've said it all. I totally agree with you, which is nice. And It's a great shame, and I must admit I did give East Anglia Daily Times a bit of an ear bashing myself. So thank you, really appreciate it, and I hope the cordial atmosphere continues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that wasn't really a question, Joe, but I'll just agree with you. Thank you. And I mean, I think one thing you said there, which is that all of us as councillors, we don't do it for the glory or for anything else, certainly not for the money. We do it for the love of our communities. And I think that shines out in every interaction I have with anyone who's on the council. So thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you, Cliff. Councillor Glossop, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to ask some questions on Barley Homes, please. In the Cabinet Papers, there are recommendations by Councillor Richard O'Driscoll, portfolio holder for housing. Number 1, to create a housing pipeline investment fund of 500,000 funded from the strategic priority and medium-term financial strategy reserves to underwrite the cost of obtaining planning permission on 9 identified sites generating likely 91 units. The principle of the transfer of public sector owned land at £1 plus overage, if planning costs are funded by West Suffolk, then the land value will be adjusted to compensate. In Barley Homes' business plan, it says it is a commercial business owned by West Suffolk Council and will take small sites and develop houses for sale and affordable and social housing. It will have loans from West Suffolk Council and repay them with interest. So why is West Suffolk Council being asked to fund the planning applications which will help Barley Homes if the sites are approved? If they are not approved, will the funds be paid back to West Suffolk Council? Other commercial developers have to provide 40% affordable houses on greenfield sites and 35% affordable on brownfield sites. They have to fund their own planning advice and then planning applications. West Suffolk Council do not fund their planning applications, so it is not a level playing field because they're all commercial. Also, it says Barley Homes would apply for Home England funding. So is this fund available to all developers because they're all supplying social housing? When Barley Homes was first set up, there were many meetings with many disagreements to how to agree the business plan. And it does seem that the direction of Barley Homes is not going as it was, and it seems to be becoming a housing association. This should be a matter to be discussed by full council and not just the Cabinet. I am not saying that we do need more social housing, but it's not for Barley Homes to change unless it's been to full council. I would also ask why the representation on the board is not politically balanced, representing West Suffolk Council. And also, I would suggest, and this was discussed in the past, why we don't have an independent elected person on the board to oversee the work of Barley Homes for transparency. When we have the members' allowance scheme discussed, we have an independent committee set up from members of the public. So I do think that we really need to be quite open about what is happening with Barley Homes. And I don't expect you to answer all of this now. If you could give a written response, I think that would benefit both of us. Thank you.
All of us.
Right, I'm glad you caveated that question at the end, Susan. Otherwise, we might have been here, might have overstayed our time. I mean, I think we'll all agree that when this administration came in, Barley Homes had been very successful in developing 2 small sites, but there wasn't a pipeline of developments coming forward, so that very important function it has, which is to make a return for the council, was beginning to disappear. So what we've done as an administration is we've reinstated a pipeline. We've now got a very robust pipeline of sites, which you've identified yourself. We haven't actually changed the constitution of Barley Homes. It's still the same objectives it's always had. Partly it's to build homes because we need them, and partly it's to make a return to the council. But the most important thing about it is that it's to develop sites that commercial developers won't build. And that was its initial impetus when it was co-owned by the county council, because there were sites that the county council or that other public bodies owned that were not commercially viable but were useful to build on for housing. And so this council, under the previous administration, saw an opportunity and took it, and I commend them for that. But I think Barley Homes today is in a very, very healthy position. I'm interested in your idea about an independent person coming on the board. We've done that with PASC, and that seems to be working very well. I will ask if Councillor O'Driscoll would like to answer some of the more technical parts of your question without...
Excuse me, Councillor Waterman, but we are over the 5 minutes on this question.
Okay, sorry. Susan, I'll take up your offer of a more detailed written response. Thank you. Thank you for the question.
I would like to move to Councillor Waldron, if I may, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask the leader how he feels about the excellent work that Reform UK have been doing, forcing the present government to cancel local elections and acknowledge the word of the people. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Waldron. I think you meant to say forcing the government to reinstate the cancelled elections rather than cancel them. I'm a Labour politician. I don't look particularly happily at some of the chaos that's been caused by the government. I'm quite happy to say that. But having said that, I do think this current government is doing lots of very good things across the country. We're seeing improvements in the rail service. We've seen the Renters' Rights Act. We've seen workers... Waterman?
Relevant to council business.
Okay. Sorry, I've been stopped speaking, Don.
I would now like, if I may, to move to Councillor Andrew Smith, please.
Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat rather than my phone this time. My apologies. I'd just like to ask the leader to join me and many, if not all, councillors in paying tribute to Julie Baird. She has been with us around 9 years. I mean, I've been here almost 10 years. So we must have been, I was elected, obviously she was appointed, but she is a delight, has been a delight to work with. I would describe Julie at times as an iron fist in a velvet glove, because whilst councillors are potentially leaping up and down, trying to challenge things, she sticks strictly to constitution and legal matters. She leaves an excellent team behind her. Again, many of us deal with her team on a fairly frequent basis, some more than most. She should be proud of what she leaves behind her. Her contribution, her contribution to me has been extraordinary. And I think I couldn't make today's meeting because the delegation panel was on at 1 o'clock this afternoon. So I was online with Councillor London and officers, and we were talking through applications there. But I would like to think that we can wish her very best in the future. She goes certainly with my best wishes, and I'm sure many other councillors' best wishes. Even though sometimes, as you and Joe were having a bit of a session earlier, we didn't always agree, but she did it in such a gentle and professional way that we will miss her contribution. Thank you.
I'm not going to add any words to that apart from agreeing with you, Andrew. The most frustrating thing about Julie, I think, is that when you disagree with her, she's always right. So she's going to a promoted job elsewhere, and I'm sure she'll bring all those skills to bear at that, and we will miss her. So thank you very much for that tribute.
Yeah, thank you for that, and I think it's reflected by the whole House. Thank you. Councillor Laura Minner-Jones, please.
Thank you very much.
Fortunately, 4 minutes left.
That's fine. I wanted to echo my thanks to the leader for defending Haverhill when that ridiculous article came out. The writers of the report made it very clear that to be on the list at all was to be applauded, and the way they twisted it was outrageous. So thank you. And I just kind of wanted to jump on to what Councillor Marks had said about the things going on, and I wanted to ask if the leader would also publicise and visit the new wellbeing centre that's opening in Haverhill, Stowview Wellbeing Centre. There's going to be a beautiful cafe there called the Treehouse Cafe. So please come along. It's due to open end of March. I will let you know when we've got the official opening date. But I would like to ask the leader if he would please, publicise and visit because it's going to be amazing. Thank you.
How can I refuse? Thanks for the invitation, Laura, and I'll certainly take you up on it. Thank you.
Councillor Jarvis, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, that was December.
Not DCC, I think.
There we go. Okay. Look, a lot's been talked about the sports centre, and we're talking a lot about sports provision, but we've talked very little about what this actually represents. This was a multi-million-pound housing development. A lot of people or developers and Suffolk County Council have made a lot of money. This money has not gone back to Newmarket. S106 money has flown out. There's been a lot of blame being sent to maybe West Suffolk Council. This was a Suffolk County Council development. You know, you don't get to be Oasis headlining Wembley, take the ticket sales and blame the support band when the crowd goes home disappointed. And in this case, the people who are most disappointed are the people of Newmarket, and it's completely distasteful to the people of Newmarket. And I really hope we have a fast resolution to this, and I commend what Councillor Wharton was saying about the fact that, you know, Newmarket Town Council want to work with West Suffolk and Suffolk County Council to a fast resolution to get a sports provision, but it's left a bad taste in our mouths for good reason. Thank you.
Once again, that wasn't really a question, Jan, but I agree with you, basically. And I mean, I think it's in all our interests to get that sports provision up and running as soon as we can. As we've seen with the St Felix site, there are difficulties, but we are all determined to overcome them. So thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you very much, Councillor Waterman. Apologies, John, but we are out of time for the... Carry on. Am I allowed? Thank you. Okay, on to item number 7, referral from Cabinet, the 3rd of February 2026, Treasury Management Report, December 2025, and I will call upon Councillor Hind to introduce and move this motion, please.
Thank you. Yes, this is item 7, Treasury Management. This report has been to the Financial Resilience Subcommittee on the 12th of January 26 and was approved by PASC on the 22nd of January. It shows the position as at 31st of December 2025. At that point, the Council held 52 million of investments on borrowing of 9 million interest receivable in the 9 months to December, and it's driving a budget surplus of 953,125 due to interest rates remaining high and high levels of cash invested. This surplus is being held in the Capital Projects Financing Reserve in order to mitigate the risk of future borrowing. In the current interest rate environment, our liability benchmark and cash flow forecast show that we will not need to borrow externally within the short to medium term, i.e. the next 12 months. So I'd just like to pass on my thanks to both PASC and the subcommittees for their scrutiny of the papers, and I now seek final approval of full council, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hind. Who wishes to second this motion?
I'm happy to second the motion, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Armitage. Would you like to speak now, or would you reserve your right to speak at the end?
Only to echo Councillor Hind's words, and I'm bound to say it's been through a robust process.
Lovely. So you're not reserving to speak?
I'm not reserving to speak.
Thank you so much for that. Would anybody like to speak on this subject? No current requests, so on that I will move straight to the vote after Councillor Hine has closed the debate.
Well, there were no questions, so I don't think I've got anything to add that I haven't already said to what I've already said. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. So we do go to the vote. Those in favour, please. Any against? Any abstentions? I think the motion is passed. Thank you very much indeed. We'll move swiftly on to item number 8. Referral from Cabinet, 3rd of February 2026, Financial Resilience Strategy Statement for 2026 to 2027 and the Treasury Management Code of Practice. And once again, I call upon Councillor Hine to introduce this item and move the motion. Thank you.
Yes, this is the report that sets out the Treasury Management Strategy and Code of Practice for the year to come. These documents have also been to the Financial Resilience Subcommittee on the 12th of January and subsequently endorsed by PASC on the 22nd of January. This strategy sets out how we are planning to approach borrowing and investments in the financial year to come, and it sets the limits of how much and with who we can engage in borrowing or investment. I think it's all in there, but again, as I say, it's been through the process, and I'd like again to pass on my thanks to both PASC and the subcommittees for their scrutiny of the papers, and again, I seek approval of full council. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councillor Hine. Who wishes to second this motion?
I'm happy to second the motion, Chair. I don't think I have anything to add to what Councillor Hine had to say.
Thank you very much. So you will not speak at the end. Okay. We will turn his microphone back on. We will have no members wishing to speak about this. The seconder didn't reserve his right to speak, so I will move straight to the vote on this subject. And those in favour? Oh. What? Those against? Any abstentions? I didn't come back to you, did I?
It's fine.
Yeah, okay. Right, thank you very much. Item number 9. Referral from Cabinet, 3rd of February 2026, Budget and Council Tax Setting for 26 to 27 and the Medium-Term Financial Strategy for 2026 to 2030. This item explains that the referral from Cabinet, which includes the recommendations previously recommended by the Performance and Audit Scrutiny Committee, have been incorporated into the main budget setting report due to be considered next on this council agenda. So no decision is therefore required at this stage. And that concludes the referrals from Cabinet. So moving on to item number 10. Budget and council tax setting for the 26 to 27 and medium-term financial strategy 2026 to 2030. And I would call upon Councillor Hine yet again to introduce this item and move the motion. Thank you, Councillor Hine.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think the leader mentioned earlier on the multi-year settlement from the government, which was very welcome as we haven't had a multi-year settlement for many, many years. And it included the widely anticipated shift in funding to local authorities that have responsibility for adult social care, children's care, and those areas with high levels of deprivation. The provisional financial settlement was broadly as expected, but it is a reduction in core spending power of 2.1% from the settlement for 25-26, excluding the government assumptions on increasing council tax by the maximum possible. Including the assumed maximum increase in council tax, which as we all know is a debate for full council, would show a core spending power increase of only 0.7% year on year. We still propose a balanced budget for the next 2 years, Government did make some changes to the settlement between Cabinet and this meeting tonight. This was government making a correction to further balance funding to meet the needs across councils. In short, for the financial year of 26 to 27, it's straightforward, as government has provided additional support to offset these changes to neutralise any impact. The proposals before you moves the additional homelessness grant into the homelessness fund, as we have been doing. So overall, there's no impact on the bottom line. For the year 27 to 28, the financial settlement is about 1 million less than we had previously anticipated in the provisional settlement. Council are lobbying for more clarity on ongoing financial support to meet this gap and expect government may, like this year, provide funding. But even if this is not the case, we will look to mitigate any reduction through either savings or through general performance change in budget assumptions, and we with others are lobbying the government for clarity. Therefore, our proposals, I'm pleased to say, continue to deliver a 2-year balanced budget. There is so much to highlight, and I will not go through it all, but I will take this opportunity to highlight some important investment areas. By prudent financial management, we have been able to propose using 4.5 million of our Strategic Priorities Fund to invest in much needed leisure facilities, improving the efficiency of our pools, increasing pitches and paddle facilities, to name but a few, while reducing the impacts on the environment and putting the leisure centres themselves on a stronger financial footing into the future. We are investing heavily in our high streets, including an additional £1 million for Haverhill, on top of the initiatives we are already working on and which will be shaped by local input. Through the great work of the Brandon Commission, we've not only identified actions, but are now also funding them, listening to the local community and their needs. This budget supports better recycling, revolutionising what goes in the bin, both locally and nationally. If we hadn't managed our finances in the way we have, national changes to funding could have meant cuts to vital community grants that have been an important part of this council for many years. With the ending of the New Homes Bonus grant funding, we have also been able to manage our finances to protect nearly £650,000 in targeted group grant funding that has benefited hundreds of community groups and local projects over the years. We are supporting the most vulnerable by continuing to prevent people from becoming homeless and helping those rough sleeping. Equally, this budget ensures West Suffolk remains the location for business, from helping with skills to growing local companies and our markets. There is £300,000 new investment in West Suffolk's award-winning parks, as well as play equipment and open spaces, including Bury St Edmunds, Haverhill and Mildenhall. 17.2 million in total, making West Suffolk the lead in Suffolk for advanced manufacturing, helping bring billions of pounds in investment for the county. We are protecting the remaining funding from a £500,000 financial package agreed last year to progress growth objectives and potential economic benefits for Brandon, the A11, A1307 and A14 corridor. And £860,000 supporting town centres by improving parking facilities across West Suffolk, including essential works at Newmarket and the new facilities project in Clare. This budget continues to support services that residents and businesses rely on, such as emptying bins 4.45 million times a year, grass cutting, street cleaning to drive civic pride, supporting traders meet legal requirements and promoting skills. Government and increased financial pressures such as inflation require councils to increase council tax, but we have managed to stretch our portion of the money we receive even further. We know the cost of living is a struggle, which is why we have found ways other than council tax to fund 84% of the real cost of delivering services. And we have also proposed that the majority of people, those who live in Band B, council tax homes, will see their bills rise by just 39p a month for the services we deliver. In addition, of course, we have agreed again up to 100% council tax discount for those most in need. The proposals and recommendations before you deliver not only the strategic priorities we have set out, but the needs and ambitions of our local communities and businesses. Today, I'm asking full council to approve this budget. And in closing, I want to thank PASC, Cabinet and officers for all the work that has gone into this budget over recent months. In particular, I thank Rachel Mann and her team for their dedication, commitment and experience. Thank you, and I propose the budget.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hind. Could I call upon Councillor Cliff Waterman to second this motion, please?
Thanks very much, Chair. I'm very happy to second the motion, and I would like to reserve my right to speak, please.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to the floor, and I have Councillor Joe Mason, please.
Thank you, Chair. I wish to submit an amendment. Okay. Town centres are where people meet, spend time and connect. They also act as a service hub for towns and surrounding villages, providing access to retail, banking, post offices, employment, leisure, hospitality, markets, even healthcare. But we can all see the pressure town centres are under. Just last week in Haverhill, there were only 4 stalls across the Friday and Saturday markets. That isn't a thriving town centre. Low footfall. For many residents, getting into town means getting in a car. There often isn't a realistic alternative. Parking isn't abstract, it's a daily practical consideration. The biggest challenge facing some of our towns, particularly Haverhill, my town, isn't a lack of effort from traders or loyalty from residents. It's that we've created 2 very different versions of our towns. One where parking is easy, free and convenient, another where parking is charged. There is thriving footfall in our towns, just not on our high streets. Out of town and edge of town retail benefits from free, simple parking and high convenience, steady pulling footfall away from our town centres. When footfall goes, shops don't struggle, they empty. Vacant units are not a failure of traders, they are as a result of an uneven playing field. The cost of inaction will be far greater than the cost of testing a proposal now. The High Street Competitive Package before you is a targeted time-limited pilot capped at up to £600,000 per year over 2 years, designed to test practical measures that support local businesses and increase footfall. First hour free parking trials in Haverhill and Newmarket are about encouraging short, everyday visits, the kind of pop-into-town trips that rebuild habit and confidence and often lead to longer stays and more local spend. In Bury St Edmunds, a proposal for free parking at the Arc between 8 and 10 a.m. on Mondays is a specific, low-cost intervention aimed at supporting early week footfall without undermining the wider parking strategy. This amendment also protects what already works by recognising existing free parking in Mildenhall and Brandon, and it supports town centre businesses directly by reducing pavement licence fees. Crucially, this package is financially controlled, funding is capped, time-limited and subject to Section 151 oversight, with a 12-month review and a full 24-month evaluation. If something works, we'll know. If it doesn't, we'll know. That's not risk-taking, that's responsible governance. It isn't party political, it's about listening. And I'll finish by sharing 2 voices, 2 local voices. Footfall has visibly fallen over the last 18 months. 1 hour free car parking could be a great benefit to town centre businesses. That's Mark Chapman from Chapman & Sons on the High Street. We should be encouraging, not restricting visitors to the High Street. Anything that welcomes more footfall is positive for all of us. Aaron Woodward, Simkin Jewellers. I hope members across the chamber will view and support the amendment in the spirit it's intended. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah. Sorry? Right. Joe, you to read out the amendment, please.
People listening, they won't have seen no amendments. Could you read out the reference?
I do apologise. I wasn't told that I had to do that. I'm sorry. Members, please forgive me. I will try and go through this quickly. Okay, I will go through the main part. Thank you. Council is asked to resolve additional recommendations to those set out in report number COU/WS/26/005 as follows. That a new strategic growth budget line titled High Street Competitive Package be created, funded up to a maximum of £600,000 per annum for the financial years 2026 to 27 and 2027 to 28, to be drawn from reserve balances to support town centre vitality, footfall and economic growth across West Suffolk market towns. Item 1, free parking between the hours of 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock on mornings, on Mondays only at the Arc multi-storey car park in Bury St Edmunds. Item 2, first hour free parking trial. A Newmarket at All Saints, the Guineas and Rouse Road car parks, in Haverhill at the Arts Centre, Jubilee Walk and Lowdown Slade car parks. The scheme shall be reviewed after 24 months against agreed indicators, including footfall, usage, dwell time, vacancy rates, business impact and net financial effect. Item 3, support for existing free parking. Recognition and continuation of current arrangements in Mildenhall and Brandon. Item 4, parking charge stability. Freeze parking charges in Bury St Edmunds for the 2-year period. Item 5, support for town centre businesses. Reduce pavement licence fees to £100 for both new applications and renewals, subject to existing safety and accessibility requirements. Governance and financial safeguards. The proposal remains funded from general reserves within the strategic growth framework. The £600,000 annual ceiling remains explicitly in place. A formal 12-month review will assess financial impact, footfall, usage and economic indicators. A full 24-month evaluation will inform any future long-term parking strategy. The revised package therefore represents a scaled and targeted 2-year pilot rather than a structural or open-ended revenue change. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Councillor Mason. Now, who would like to second the amendment, please? Councillor Broughton.
Yes, I would like to second the amendment, but thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to speak now or would you reserve your right to speak?
I'll reserve the right to speak later. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, members, you have all been given advance notice of this proposed amendment, which was emailed to you earlier today. A copy is also provided on your desks before you. However, would anyone like me to pause the meeting to give you time to familiarise yourself with the proposed amendment? If so, I'm quite willing to do so, but I might remind you, members, that this is not a comfort break, and to remain in the chamber while the meeting is paused if anybody requires that. Does anybody require it? No takers. Okay. So I will now go to those wishing to speak on this amendment. And I will take each in turn. And the first is Councillor Brown, please. Tony Brown.
Thank you, Chair. As a Haverhill councillor, I am supporting this proposal because it represents a measured and time-limited effort to strengthen our market towns at a time when many high streets are under real pressure. For communities like Newmarket, Mildenhall, Brandon, Haverhill, Bury and the wider rural villages that our town centre support are not just about retail, it is where residents access essential services, meet others and support local businesses that form the backbone of our local economy. What I find reassuring about this motion is that it is very well thought out and not open-ended. There is a clear financial cap, defined monitoring and full evaluation after 24 months. That gives us, councillors, the opportunity to test whether practical measures like short-stay parking incentives and support for small businesses genuinely increase footfall and vitality while retaining the ability to review the evidence together. I also think it recognises a reality for many of our rural residents. For now, access to town centres often depends on car travel. Supporting our high streets today does not prevent us from continuing to work towards longer-term sustainable transport solutions. Ultimately, this is a trial grounded in local need and financial safeguards. I believe it is reasonable, proportionate and worth testing so that future decisions can be based on real outcomes rather than assumption. I would kindly ask my colleagues from Brandon, Lakenheath, Mildenhall, all of these towns benefit from free parking, to support these towns that do not. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Wakelam, please.
Thank you, Chair. I've really got a couple of questions. First of all, I applaud the desire to support our towns within the district. All of us want to do that, and it's good to think that people are thinking hard about how to do it. I do have questions, though, however, about this particular proposal. Maybe answers to this question will change my mind. First of all, Councillor Mason did offer us 2 quotes. I would like to ask exactly what research and consultation he and Councillor Broughton have carried out before they proposed this really quite dramatic amendment to our budget, a budget which has been well thought out. And secondly, they say in the preamble that, and they note that most people in rural areas have to rely on cars. One of the major reasons for that is lack of buses, and there are many councillors in this chamber who have taken on board that necessity to provide more buses. Not everybody drives, not everybody has access to cars. So I do feel that if we're wanting to support our towns and the people who want to use them, perhaps effort should be directed towards alternative methods of transport rather than free parking for cars. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Adrian Whittle, please.
Chair, members, we all agree that our market towns are essential to the prosperity and cohesion of West Suffolk. They serve not only their own residents, but thousands of people from surrounding rural communities who rely on these centres for shopping, services, healthcare, employment and social life. The proposal in front of us today contains well-intentioned measures. It seeks to support high streets through targeted parking initiatives, and while supporting our town centres is something that we all want to see, it is important that we understand what this proposal does and what it do not do. When we examine the details, the reality is that this proposal does not create fair or consistent parking offer across West Suffolk. Instead, it preserves the long-standing differences and in several cases deepens them. At the moment, we already see a patchwork of arrangements. Mildenhall and Brandon enjoy extensive free parking. Other towns, Newmarket, Haverhill and Bury St Edmunds, rely heavily on paid parking revenue to support essential local services. And within each town, charges can vary significantly between different car parks. The package before us introduces new variations. Only one Bury St Edmunds car park receives free parking between 8 and 10 on Mondays. Newmarket and Haverhill receives a first free hour, but only certain locations. Mildenhall and Brandon keep their full free parking, but gain no new support. Rural car parks see no change at all. So each town gets a different model. Bury receives time-limited parking. Newmarket and Haverhill receives duration-limited parking. Free parking. Mildenhall and Brandon retain full free parking, and other areas retain standard charges. So this may support individual centres in the short term, but it does nothing to improve fairness or clarity across the district. If anything, it widens this gap. And residents will rightly ask, what are the rules? Why are the rules so different from one town to another? Why is one car park free for 1 hour, another free on Monday mornings, and others not free at all? And here, Chair, I want to speak directly to the experience of one of our towns, Newmarket, because Newmarket residents and businesses regularly tell me, consistently, clearly, empathetically, that they do want free parking to help bring footfall to the high street. They want a parking system that encourages people to stop, shop and spend locally rather than driving elsewhere. And they also tell me that high parking charges push drivers into surrounding residential streets, causing congestion and blocking access to those that live there. Local shopkeepers repeatedly say, give people an incentive to come to town. Residents say, if the car parks were cheaper, people wouldn't clog up our roads outside our homes. These concerns are completely reasonable, but the proposals today only provide a partial response. They give Newmarket a first free hour, but not across all car parks and not on all equal terms with other towns, and not in a fair way that aligns with our wider strategic vision. Chair, members, supporting our high streets is essential, but so is fairness, so is consistency, so is ensuring that we introduce incentives. We apply them equitably and according to clear principles, not through a patchwork of a case-by-case decision. The proposal before us today contains good ideas, but they do not inform a coherent parking policy for West Suffolk. They leave us with inconsistent rules, unequal arrangements, and no clearer sense of what our long-term parking strategy should be. I believe we need a more unified, evidence-led, one that puts high streets like Newmarkets while ensuring that every town is treated fairly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Whittle. Could I move to Councillor Clark, please?
Thank you, Chair. Just in response to Councillor Whittle, actually, just remember this is a trial that's being proposed so we can get more information while still driving footfall to our centres, which is what we need. But let me just turn to an item that I've been banging on about for some time, which is the pavement licences. I think I brought it up last year and was told that if you brought it up a little earlier, it may have been able to be included. Well, you've had a good year to think about it this time. Claire, which I represent, is endlessly frustrated by these pavement licences. It doesn't generate much revenue. In fact, going to our proposal will only cost the council £8,000 a year, which is insignificant. But the message it gives to our town centres, particularly our smaller places like Clare, is immeasurable. You know, I've got some cafes there who are almost putting out tables and chairs and then taking them back in again because they realise they haven't got the licence, and it's just not good. We want a cafe culture in some of our smaller places and our towns more generally. It's attractive. We all enjoy it, and I think this is just a pernicious tax. It's an anti-business tax. And we know at the moment that the government is not on the side of business, and I think this will send a big signal to remove this for West Suffolk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clark. Could I now move to Councillor Waterman, please?
Oh, that's why it was flashing green. We've heard lots of good words, which we'd all support, about the need to invest in our town centres, and that's exactly what the existing budget does. Unfortunately, what this amendment does is it takes a very highly designed, highly accurate Swiss watch of a budget and kind of bungs in a plastic cogwheel that kind of causes all sorts of problems down the line. Let me explain. So, and I'll quote Councillor Mason's own words: if something works, we'll know. If it doesn't work, we'll know. The trouble is that's at the cost of £1.2 million. Now, it may well work, I don't know. The thing about the current budget unamended is that it has all been tested. And we know it will work because we've done our very best to model the outcomes. If you think about parking charges, if you go back to last year, we did a very thorough review of car parking charges. And we have to recognise that car parking charges are a very important revenue stream for this council. And it's one of the reasons why council tax makes up such a tiny proportion of our spending, and why residents get such high quality services for such a low amount of outlay. But supposing we'd had a chance to look at these proposals in advance, we could have worked out, would they offer value for money? If you're going to spend £1.2 million, you want to make sure you're getting value for money. Imagine you go into a car showroom. They show this lovely shiny car. You go, oh, that looks nice. I would like that. You go home and think, hang on a minute. It's only got 2 seats. I won't be able to get the kids in the back, and I won't be able to get my golf clubs in the boot. And that's the problem with this. It looks all very sparkly and shiny and attractive, but it hasn't been worked through. We don't know if it will work. And it's basically a gamble with £1.2 million of our council taxpayers' money. And it's worse than that. because what it'll do, it'll set up expectations that these proposed cuts or decreases in parking charges will be there forever. Can you imagine the council coming along saying, I'm sorry about this, but we're going to remove your council car parking charge discounts? There'll be uproar. And so if it doesn't work, we'll be stuck with it. Or more precisely, the incoming unitary council will be stuck with it. And it really is a booby trap, that incoming council. Because they'll be in a position where they either row back on these charges or they maintain them and are short of a revenue stream. And the final thing I say is that because this is a 2-year experiment with our taxpayers' money, in the first year we can probably work it so that £600,000 can be found. It might be a little bit difficult, but we can probably do it. In the second year, we're beginning to think about having to find economies, otherwise known as cuts. So my question to anyone thinking of supporting this motion is, well, next year, what would you like to cut to pay for it? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Waterman. Could I move to Councillor Indy Wijanayake, please?
Thank you, Chair. I will sort of echo some of the words of other councillors. You know, this is something that, okay, this is admirable. We all know that our town centres need as much support as possible. However, in my opinion, I think this proposed amendment is ill thought out and ill conceived, as echoed by some of my other council colleagues. This does not look at the issue of people getting the bus, as one of my other colleagues has said. This doesn't look at the fundamental differences, and there are fundamental differences across our district. It doesn't look at, or it doesn't take into account the fact that, and I know people who like to come from, who live in Cambridge and actually go to Bury St Edmunds, because Bury St Edmunds offers cheaper car parking than Cambridge does. Yet Bury St Edmunds does actually support and offer a equally, you know, robust and enjoyable experience as Cambridge does. In fact, I would say, and I'll promote Bury St Edmunds here, come to Bury St Edmunds rather than Cambridge. I would also sort of echo my disappointment in Councillor Mason, and it's admirable, again, to say that, you know, he's got an experiment and he wants to experiment on us. But I would also say he has been involved in the Haverhill High Street Enhancement Scheme, and we've been working really, really hard to do things for Haverhill, which actually makes a tangible, long-term difference for the people of Haverhill and the surrounding areas. And it is really, really disappointing that he's basically going to throw that all away. And as Councillor Hind has indicated, there is £1 million extra in our budget. And that's on top of the £693,000 that is going towards Haverhill. And we don't want to throw that away. And I would implore everybody to vote against this amendment and vote for the budget. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Indy. Councillor Becky Hoffensberger, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Conservative Group's amendment before you starts from a very simple principle. Our market towns and thriving high streets are the heartbeats of our communities. From Bury St Edmunds to Haverhill, from Newmarket to Mildenhall and Brandon, they are more than just places to shop. They are places to identity and connection and opportunity. For residents in our towns and surrounding villages, these towns provide access to healthcare, pharmacies, banking, post office, education, employment and community life. In rural districts like West Suffolk, the access matters deeply. Many of our residents do not have frequent bus services or realistic public transport alternatives. For them, a car is not a luxury, it's a necessity. This amendment recognises the reality and responds with a practical, proportionate and time-limited plan. The High Street Competitive Package, funded at up to £600,000 per year for 2 years, drawn from reserves within the Strategic Growth Framework. It's not an open-ended commitment. It's not a structural change to revenue, it's a focused 2-year pilot with clear financial safeguards and clear review points at 12 and 24 months. The targeted free parking initiatives are designed to increase early footfall and encourage local spend. Free parking between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. on Mondays at the Arc multi-storey in Bury St Edmunds is supporting workers, shoppers and businesses at the start of the trading week. And a first hour free parking trial in Newmarket and in Haverhill does the same. It's about making it easier for someone to pop into town for prescriptions, a coffee, a haircut, a quick shop, and often we know that quick visit turns into longer dwelling times and greater spend. Second, we recognise the continuing existing free parking arrangements in Mildenhall and Brandon. Stability matters. Businesses need certainty, not constant change. Third, we freeze parking charges in Bury St Edmunds for 2 years. At a time when households and businesses continue to face cost pressures, this sends a signal. We understand and we're not going to add to the burden. We propose supporting town centres businesses directly by reducing pavement licences to fees to £100. This is a modest but meaningful way to help cafes, restaurants and hospitality businesses. Crucially, this package will be measured. We will review footfall, usage, dwell time, vacancy rates, business impact and net financial effects. If it works, we will have evidence to inform a long-term strategy. If elements do not deliver, we will know and we can adjust accordingly. Colleagues, this amendment is balanced. It's affordable, it's time limited, and it's rooted in supporting our residents, businesses, and market towns in West Suffolk, urban and rural alike. There's a lot of talk about what is lost, but no talk about what can be gained. It's frankly quite disappointing and insulting that the proposal designed to support our residents, businesses and market towns has been dismissed in such dismissive terms by the leader of this council in the newspapers. This amendment reflects the real concerns of people we represent, not theory, not ideology, but the everyday reality of struggling high streets. Councillor Wharton seems to have a very short memory, calling this a political stunt that hasn't been brought up before. In this very chamber last year, we proposed a very similar amendment on car parking. Perhaps he should pay more attention, rather than purely dismissing ideas proposed by other parties other than his own. To label it a crackpot is not just to dismiss this idea, but to dismiss the voices of the residents and traders who are asking for our help. West Suffolk Council should be listening to these voices and acting on them, not ridiculing practical steps to support our communities. And ultimately, the question before us tonight is simple. Are we prepared to stand with our residents and businesses, take meaningful action, or are we prepared to dismiss their concerns and do nothing? Councillor Wakelam asked what research is conducted with regards to the need. You only have to walk down Risbygate Street, School Yard, where car parking on double yellow lines is rife because people cannot afford to pay for their car parking. Councillor Whittle, you ask why what we are proposing here is a trial which will be subject to review at a 12 and a 4-month period. And to quote the amendment, it will inform any future long-term parking strategy. If we truly believe our market towns are the heartbeats of our community, then we must be prepared to take practical steps to keep these hearts strong. I urge the Council to support this amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Hoffensberger. Councillor Hood, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm surprised to hear Councillor Mason's meticulously prepared and proposed motion to be dismissed as ill thought out or ill conceived, because Councillor Mason is somebody who acts with the most professional view, and I certainly will be supporting this. Our high street in Newmarket is not thriving. Our market, despite protestations to the contrary, is hopeless. Everybody wants it back on the high street. It's still stuck elsewhere and is not thriving. Yet another shop, Tyndall's, on the high street, an arts and crafts shop, has just announced it's closing in March. Wildwood restaurant across the road has just announced its closing. We don't have a thriving high street, and you just have to look at Ely, where they have free parking, and that is thriving. So it seems to me that it would be ill-advised and ill thought out, if I can repeat those words, of this council not to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hood. Could I move to Councillor Sarah Pugh, please?
Thank you, Chair. So I've listened to everybody, and I was a retailer for 20 years, so I do know about being a business on the high street. And I traded in the very smallest market town in West Suffolk, which is Clare. And when they got rid of the free 2 hours some years ago in the car park, there was absolute outrage, because with free 2 hours, you could actually have a coffee, get your hair done, and do a few other bits and pieces. We lost a lot of business when that was taken. You look at Sudbury. The traders there are up in arms because their free parking, I know it's Baber, but their free parking has been replaced with charges, and people have gone and are not returning. So, Councillor Whittle, I'm very sorry, but you have to have a different model, because one size does not fit all. Each town has its own idiosyncrasies. And I agree with Councillor Hood. Ely thrives. It has no parking charges. And I think, really and truthfully, you should do a trial. You should find some evidence. And you should, if nothing else, you should survey every single flipping business on the high street in your towns specifically and ask them what would make a difference. Have you talked to any of them? And have you talked to them regularly is what I want to know, because it's really tough out there. And, you know, you've got the internet comes at you, and parking charges are just really disgraceful. And the pavement licence wasn't something that affected my business, but I know it affected others. And I agree with Councillor Clark. The cafe culture is terribly nice in our market towns. It encourages people to sit and stay and chat. And that's what we want. We want the visitors to come in and feel safe and welcome. And I would really like you to actually survey all your businesses properly and find out what they need. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pugh. Councillor Ian Holder, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'll come from a slightly different angle and congratulate our finance team for doing such a sterling rearguard action on the budget of the paper that's before us. But I'm sure they really welcome this amendment to the budget, which has been taken months in preparation. It's been through various committees like PA, Performance Audit and Scrutiny on a couple of occasions, and the MTFS has been presented to councillors for the last few months. And then at the very last minute, to be, you know, having this chucked at them, so they have to reply to it, it is really quite unbecoming. They could have brought this up months ago for consideration within the budget, but didn't. We said, Councillor Mason said it's not political, but it seems a bit odd that it is very close to an election. And also, it's going to cost the council some money. Now, the finance team has said they can cover it out of reserves, which is fine, but as it's also said in the papers, that once it's spent, it's gone, and we won't have anything else to fall back on, maybe a couple of 100,000 buffer within the paper. So I've listened to what everybody says, and I actually concurred with my colleague on my left about the fact that it doesn't actually address a lot of issues, and it's a bit of a curate's egg. So I don't know really which way to jump down on it. We will remember that we have put in many hundreds of thousands of pounds in for market improvements, and two speakers tonight have said how poor the markets are. So perhaps we can have a report in the next few months where this money's gone, how it's been spent, and what reaction we've got from it. So it is good to test, if we're spending money on things, if it works. I think some people have suggested we should have free parking in all our towns, but you can just imagine in all our towns, most of the car parks are full of the people who work and live there, not the shoppers coming in or the tourists coming in. So that's a non-starter. But I'll leave it there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Holder. Councillor Bull, please. Carol Bull.
Thank you, Chair. The point has been made, I think, that we can't afford to do this because we rely too much on our parking income. And at the same time, someone else said we should be encouraging people to use buses and investing the money in buses. So, you know, you've got a basic problem there. How are you going to fund things in the future if you are reliant on this parking? And I think the point about the buses, encouraging people to use buses and investing this money instead in buses, in the rural areas, we're fighting to retain the buses we have. And the chances of getting new bus services in to do the sort of thing you want to do, our high streets will have died by that time. It's not going to happen. We're struggling to have the existing buses retain. We're not going to get new buses for years, so we have to accept its cars. And also, if we are reliant on parking charges to this extent, maybe we should be looking at things for the future, because it strikes me that that is a downward spiral. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bull. Councillor Donna Higgins, please.
Thank you. A budget is perhaps the most important thing this council makes decisions on, because without the vehicle of that budget, none of the ambitious projects that we have could ever come to fruition. Everything that generates money for us, whether it is grants, whether it is parking, whether it is licenses, whether it is council tax, all of that goes into building the ambition of a council. So to muck around too much with things that have been really carefully thought out, I think is a little bit dangerous. Now, this paper did come to me this morning. It was a bit of a surprise. I wasn't expecting to read that and get my head around it this morning, because as far as I knew, all the discussions that had gone on around the budget hadn't pursued this idea at all. So all this carefully thought out stuff had been kept secret from us. We didn't know that you'd been thinking along these particular lines. I will say that we did know that Councillor Mason had mentioned parking previously, but not to this degree. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe they've been working on this for a while, but just haven't shared it. But then I find that there's things that are included in the budget that have come up in this proposal. For example, to freeze the parking charges in Bury St Edmunds for 2 years. I don't know why that's in there, because it's not a change to what has been suggested in the budget anyway. So my feeling on this is that if we are going to amend something in a very, very finely balanced and carefully thought through package, that things ought to actually include all the risks and balances that you'd expect in a paper that came to this council. And it doesn't. There's nothing here about what the risks are of doing this. If it hadn't have been for the response that has actually come out from our officers to help us understand what the implications are, there would be no risks. Now, I'm not going to say too much more because I have a colleague to my right here who actually understands how that balance was put together in much more minute detail than I can. But I would worry with upsetting a balance on something that hasn't been properly discussed through with all its implications and ramifications. And with that, I'd say I've had enough.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Richard Rout, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We always have this, don't we, each year when a budgetary amendment appears. There's this sort of faux surprise. Oh my goodness, a budgetary amendment on budget day. And you see all councils do this, and different administrations of different political colours. But it is a bit of a trick, isn't it? You have a procedure, and if you don't like the way that the constitution at the council operates, you're the administration, change it so that you get far greater notice about budgetary amendments. But this happens each year. We brought an amendment last year on very, very similar grounds. So it's not a bolt from the blue. This is how councils operate. If you don't like it, change the constitution. But of course, welcome this amendment. And I'd start with a small item, I think, that Councillor Clark highlighted, the pavement licence fee. I think it makes a real difference to small independent traders and a minute difference to our budget. So thoroughly support that. But looking more widely across this amendment, I applaud Councillors Mason and Broughton for the careful consideration they've given to this. There is something for everyone in there. The proposals for Newmarket and Haverhill would clearly drive greater footfall there. But I'm pleased that Bury St Edmunds isn't overlooked. And I think too often, and we've heard a bit of it this evening, there's an assumption that Bury's fine. Bury is a fantastic town. We're really, really fortunate. Wonderful independent businesses, nationally renowned eateries. But that doesn't mean it does not need further support. And it does not mean that those independent business owners do not strive day in, day out to make a success of their businesses. So I think anything we can do, even small, that increases footfall in the town, particularly on days where footfall is already low, should be supported. And I don't disagree with Councillor Wakelam that more could be done around public transport, absolutely. But today I welcome the fact that we're seeing a motion that supports the motorist rather than vilifies them. And I think all too often these days we vilify the motorist. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rout. Councillor David Smith, please.
Thank you, Chair. Wasn't intending to speak tonight. I haven't got anything prepared, and I generally don't speak in debates because there's people here much more eloquent than me who can put the points across. And I always think that it's best to keep quiet and let people think you're a fool than to speak up and prove it. But if I pick up one point, is Haverhill. Obviously, I'm a Haverhill councillor. Along with Councillor Mason and Councillor Wijanayake, I've been part of the High Street Enhancement Group, and the focus has always been to sort of make the place, Haverhill, more attractive for people to dwell in, increasing the dwelling times, as we say. By putting a 1 hour free parking limit, you are not increasing the dwell time. In fact, you're doing the complete opposite. So I think you've got to be careful of unintended consequences here. You'll have people popping in, popping out. They won't be hanging around. You haven't got time to get your hair cut and have a coffee like that. It'll be just in one shop and out again. So I think, although well intended, I don't think this has been thought through. And a budget like this is not the time. It's not the time to test. You know, we've got a worked out budget. Let's go with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Bridget Major, please. Brigitte Major. Brigitte. Get it right in the end.
Yeah. Thank you very much indeed. Can I please thank wholeheartedly Councillor Mason for putting forward this motion. I can assure you that the residents of Moreton Hall will jump for joy at the proposal that's been put forward. There is not a month that goes by without my inbox complaining about car parking charges. There is also not a month that goes by without me walking down Appygate Street, speaking to all the amazing businesses that we have, which is indeed within Councillor Wakelam's residence. they are struggling insofar as they are being burdened with a huge amount of new taxes. And to try to make up for that without some help for their local government is nigh enough impossible. They will be so thankful that we, as a council, are doing something to try to boost the local economy. 2 hours free parking, whether it is in our smaller villages or in our market towns or in our slightly bigger towns, will be hugely welcomed. I thank you, and I shall certainly be supporting this motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Richard O'Driscoll, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Well, a key question for me is this a genuine attempt to support town centres, or is it indeed, as has been suggested, a political stunt? And I think members will have to decide for themselves, and of course we will in a few moments. But in doing that, the considerations for me are, what does the budget currently include, the unamended budget? And I think all members can see that a lot of thought has already gone in to supporting our towns, every one of our towns across West Suffolk. We've heard from Councillor Indy that we've talked about an additional £1 million going into Haverhill. So all of that's in the budget. And then this comes forward. It's an important issue. Car parking is important. I've heard Ely mentioned many times. We know that Ely has benefited recently. I suspect it's not just because of car parking. They seem to have a very nice, very attractive cathedral, along with, I'm told, the largest monastic buildings, or largest amount of monastic buildings in Europe. So I think those things pull people in as well. There are other towns who have free car parking and do not benefit in terms of their retail, but that seems to be forgotten. So I think parking is important, but I think for me, the biggest consideration here is, if we go with this amendment, what impact does it have for the future? And although we've been told it has no impact, that clearly is not correct. Reserves are there for a purpose. They enable us to make decisions during the lifetime of a council. And we know that we are facing choppy waters going forward in terms of council income. So to put at risk £1.2 million on something that does appear to be untested, I think is unwise. I think people will decide for themselves which way they'll go with this. But I have to say that I think it's a risk not worth taking. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Driscoll. Councillor Margaret Marks, please.
Yes, thank you. I've been elected for a lot of years now, and I was elected by the public to serve the public. And in order to do that, I walk the town at least 4 times a week. And I mean the whole town, not just my ward, which is remarkably easy. The interesting thing about that is I've never seen Injiwanaika in my town other than actually at the epicentre. So I'm not sure when he walks the town to make the determination that this would work or it would not work. Indeed, actually, Councillor Smith, it's very rare, apart from at Sainsbury's, that I actually see you walking the town for that determination. So I walk the town regularly and I talk to every person that I come across. And quite frankly, most of them haven't got a clue what a council does. What they do know is what impacts them in the town and what's important to them and the challenges that they face. I really felt that Councillor Indy determined to destabilise this motion by chucking a brickbat in and said how it impacted adversely on the High Street Enhancement Scheme. I really don't see where there was any relationship between those two parts of conversation. People at the moment do park in Tesco's because it's 3 hours free parking, and I learned last week that I gather across the country that is being reduced to 2 hours in most places. So that's going to also cause problems in the town. I do support this motion. I think the public really don't understand what we do as a council. They don't understand what councils do per se. And therefore, doing things for them on a daily basis, making their lives better, is really important, and giving them a couple of hours of free parking, really and truthfully, this is their money, let's give it back to them.
Thank you, Councillor Marks. Councillor Lukanik, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We and the officers have worked on this budget since last year. It was a robust budget. And then 6 hours before the vote, all of a sudden, what drops on our table is a bill for about £1.2 million. Well, in my opinion, that's not the way to deliver a balanced budget, and I won't support the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Lukanik. Councillor Broughton, I will call you now, but if you speak now, you give up your right to speak later.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. When I hear from Councillor Hood that Wildwood and Tyndall's are both closing down, that's really disappointing. And I'm even more happy that we have put this amendment forward. We put an amendment forward last year at the budget on the same sort of grounds, but it was going to cost more money. The Section 151 officer has said this is affordable. I don't like the way the leader said this is a gamble. It's not a gamble. This is about supporting our businesses and our residents, and to help especially Haverhill and Newmarket, who are having a very, very challenging time. You could say that some things in this budget are a gamble. Thriving communities. We don't really know all the outcomes of the thriving communities yet. Why can't we help the residents and businesses in Newmarket and Haverhill especially? And I'm disappointed in those people who live and represent those areas who won't vote for it.
Thank you. Councillor David Taylor, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick couple of facts, really. 2025 against 2024 transactions, Bury, 18,511 more transactions. Newmarket, 14,665 more transactions. Haverhill, 10,470 more transactions. They're the facts as provided by the officers. I also just wanted to quickly share an email I received a few weeks ago from Mark Cordell. Some people will know him, Chief Executive of the BID, Bury St Edmunds. I just wanted to drop you both a line and congratulate you on creating a balanced budget for the next 2 financial years. I am sure this must have been extremely challenging. I also wanted to say that the freezing of car parking charges within the budget is much appreciated by myself and David and our BID members. And for this to be the case for the next 2 years is great news. Please be assured that we will continue doing all we can to get more people to visit the town centre and hopefully increase the overall parking income at the same time. Secondly, I note that some funding has been set aside for town centre projects, and although Bury wasn't specifically mentioned, I do hope some of the funding can be utilised within the town centre. I'll leave it there. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, sorry, thank you. It hadn't gone red, sorry, it was still green. When data is presented to the chamber, statistics can mean absolutely anything. Increased usage numbers are as reflective of the amazing events the town council holds across the year, but mean that we have thousands of people visit the town at very specific events that sway figures. It isn't representative of what footfall is like day in, day out. It's actually more reflective of the amazing work that Haverhill Town Council do on specific events. And so I would urge that sort of data to be viewed carefully, because it isn't necessarily accurate to use in the way that it was used. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Liz Smith, please.
Thank you. I just want to respond to Councillor Margaret Marks' comments, particularly about Indy Winjanaika and about Councillor David Smith. David and myself are often in town. I work full-time, and so does Indy. So perhaps we're not always there when Margaret Marks is there, but I do regularly go to town, especially during the half term, because I work at a college. So during half term, I'm down there several times a week with my husband. And also, to say that she doesn't see him walk around town, I don't know if you realise, but he is incapable of walking around town. And I think it's very ableist of Margaret Marks to say so. And we do park regularly in town, and we go for coffees, and we go for, visiting these shops. I've recently spent a fair bit of money in the shops in town. So I think that's very unfair of the comments that Councillor Marks said. And also, we've had one of the market stallholders say to us lately that they have had more take-ins in the last 2 weeks than they have in the last 2 years. And they see a lot more people coming their way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Lucarani, please.
Thank you, Chair. Now, I can only talk about Haverhill, but what I can say is Haverhill is in dire need of this kind of support. Like Joe, I sit on the enhancement group for the town centre, and while I'd like to thank Indy and officers for their work so far, all the work we've done at the moment is long-term, and we often talk in these meetings about short-term wins. And one of those short-term wins was to introduce free pavement licences for Haverhill. This was over a year ago, and it still hasn't materialised. So I support this motion, this amendment. We need these quick wins for Haverhill, and I know other market towns need them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Paul Furman, please.
Hi, I've worked on Haverhill Market now for 39 years. I've worked at Newmarket on and off for 20 years. And the decline is unbelievable. Anything that helps enhance the high street, like free parking, will be much appreciated by the residents and by the traders and the shopkeepers. But let me ask one thing. We've got free parking after 3 o'clock. Total waste of time. A total waste of time. Should have been reviewed in COVID, after COVID, because no one comes out after 3 o'clock. The town is dead. So any little bit of help we can get. And as for a trader saying their takers have gone up more in the last 2 weeks, last 2 years, I think they're on drugs.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Councillor Armitage, please.
Thank you. First of all, can I assure, Chair, Councillor Rout that this amendment does not come as a surprise at this late notice. I've heard a lot of good sentiment, but I do look forward to a robust and full cost-benefit analysis. I'm sure it won't be too voluminous to be attached to an email, perhaps in the next couple of days, and it will include, as well as the 1.2 million taken out of reserves, the cost of data collection, analysis and review. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. I have no more current requests, so I will move to Councillor Hine to close the debate on this amendment, please.
Thank you, Gerald. I should listen to Gerald, clearly. He knows about technology when I don't, so thank you, Gerald. Right. Well, I've been furiously scribbling away. I think what I should just correct is, and I was checking it, that our 151 officer didn't say that the amendments were affordable. She said it was costed correctly, but it changes the robustness and sustainability of the budget. And they are, I think, the important words. I was very disappointed with the amendment because I was out on a mayoral visit this morning. I didn't get to see it until about 2 o'clock this afternoon. But I noted that it was essentially the same as last year, and it was defeated then. I wanted to also say that there's been, please don't interrupt, I didn't interrupt anyone, and I'm always very careful and respectful, and can I ask that people extend the same respect to me? Thank you. There have been no significant changes since the budget was unanimously supported by PASC. There hasn't been any past increases in Haverhill for many years, and my colleague over there outlined the figures. And whilst I would agree that statistics can mean many different things from the angle that you're coming at, they clearly show that the number of parking experiences was increasing. So we've frozen car parking for 2 years, and in Bury, this is strongly supported by our businesses, as one of my cabinet colleagues has confirmed. We all want strong high streets, but giving the option of 1 hour free is more likely to encourage shorter stays, damaging the spending locally. 1 hour doesn't give anyone the time to do all the myriad of things that people want to do when they visit town centres. I think people mentioned, the hairdressers. It might be going for a coffee, it might be doing some shopping, going to the bank, going to the cinema or whatever. So 1 hour isn't enough for doing that. Investment in our towns, including Haverhill, is a major part of our robust budget. The proposed changes in this amendment to the budget are unfunded in the longer term. Somebody mentioned pavement licences, and this has cropped up before, and people have mentioned it during the year. And in fact, we're committed to reviewing them in March and April. If you want to review them, you have to have a consultation for changes. And I would say that when we do come around to doing that in a month or two's time, one option will actually be to remove the charge completely. As I say, we have to have the consultation. For me, this amendment isn't about car parking income. It's about the difference between voting for a budget that is balanced, robust and sustainable, and one that was unanimously supported by PASC, with an alternative budget that, if this amendment was supported, would be unbalanced and unsustainable. Now, because we have a legal requirement to balance the budget, the amendment proposes that we use reserves to balance the books. Use of the reserves is unsustainable. And this council has for many years prided itself on setting a robust and sustainable budget that don't just rely on dipping into reserves, especially at the significant level that's proposed. So I'll just say in closing, we would lose any flexibility within our reserves if we went ahead with this amendment, and it would require us to look at reductions in service provision to get it back to being sustainable for next year. I therefore urge members not to support the proposed amendment so that we can continue to deliver on a budget that is robust, sustainable and protects local services that our residents and businesses rely on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hine. I will now take the vote on the amendment proposed by Councillor Joe Mason and seconded by Councillor Sarah Broughton, which, as required by the Constitution, will be recorded. So I will invite the monitoring officer to instigate that process, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. May I please ask that you do not use the microphone for the vote, and would you speak loudly and clearly whether you are for, against or abstaining? I'll read each of your names in turn. Richard Elcock. Against. Michael Anderson. Against. Peter Armitage.
Against.
John Augustine.
For.
Sarah Broughton.
For.
Tony Brown.
For.
Carol Bull.
For.
Mike Chester.
For.
Patrick Chung.
For.
Nick Clark.
For.
Andy Drummond. Paul Furman.
For.
Susan Glossop.
For.
Pat Hanlon.
Against.
Donna Higgins.
Against.
Diane Hind.
Against.
Rachel Hood.
For.
Becky Hoffensberger.
For.
Ian Holder.
For.
Jan Jarvis.
Against.
Gerald Kelly.
Against.
Rowena Lindberg.
Against.
John London.
Against.
Aaron Lucarini. Victor Lukanik.
Against.
Charlie Lynch. Birgitta Major. Margaret Marks. Andrew Martin. Joe Mason. Sarah Mildmay White. Laura Jane Miller-Jones. Richard O'Driscoll.
Against.
Sarah Pugh. Karen Richardson. Richard Rout. Marion Rushbrook. Jules Savage. Marilyn Sayer. Ian Shipp. Andrew Smith. David Smith. Liz Smith. Andrew Speed. Karen Soons. Sarah Stamp. Frank Stennett. David Taylor.
Against.
Jim Thorndike. Julia Wakelam. Don Waldron. Cliff Waterman.
Against.
Adrian Whittle. Indy Wijanayaka.
Against.
Phil Whittam.
Against.
Kevin Yarrow.
Against.
Thank you.
The amendment is carried.
Consider the effects of this vote, please.
You may indeed. Are you proposing? Yeah, well,
For no confidence vote.
Yes. Chair, any members can seek an adjournment to the debate.
excuse me, please.
Or you can.
If it's a pause, I can do that. If it's an adjournment for longer than 5 minutes, then I would need it seconded and voted on. I've just heard from Councillor Waterman that he's happy to have a pause, and we can use it also, as we've been here for a couple of hours, as a comfort break. Thank you.
We'll be back in the chamber by
Okay, is everybody back in the chamber, please? I take it that you are. Well, I'm here. Okay, we resume. And the time is 21:10. As the amendment has passed, the substantive motion now on the table is the original motion as amended. The debate will now continue on this motion. Those that spoke on the that's not relevant because nobody spoke on it. So I would like to throw it open to the floor. Who would like to speak? Who wishes to speak on the...
No one. So good. No.
Thank you, Chair. The people of Clare are all smiling at the moment, I believe, for two reasons. One, congratulations on this council for reducing the cost of pavement licences. And secondly, thank you for keeping the £150,000 or thereabouts in the capital budget to help get a car park for Clare. Not a huge sum of money, but it will make a massive difference to Clare as a town. We don't get enough parking, we can't park our cars and visitors can't, so leaving it in there. So I'd like to thank the administration for leaving it in there. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm now in a quandary because I'm faced with a budget that I've got to vote on that is not balanced and is not sustainable. It does mean that going forward that other projects probably are going to have to be dropped. So Councillor Clark, your car park in Clare might not come forward if we don't have a balanced budget. We are
Because that's the sort of thing that you just use, maybe. It's not a point towards it's fine. Sorry. Sorry, first of all, this point.
Be nice to them. I think that the budget remains balanced, and I think you might need clarification from the Section 151 officer. It's illegal to pass a budget that is not balanced. This budget is balanced, so I think that just needs to be clarified by the 151 officer if she's present.
So with the amendment that has been passed this evening, the budget is balanced as the amendment included the proposal to use reserves. So it is a balanced budget because it relies on reserves.
Right. Councillor Sayer, I'll return to you as you hadn't finished. Thank you.
And just coming back to my point that, okay, yes, I do understand now it is balanced, but by going into reserves that are unsustainable going forward, it does mean that we will have to query some of the projects that we have probably wanted to do going forward. So it is. It doesn't reflect what we had hoped to be doing going forward into the next year.
Thank you. Councillor Higgins, please.
Thank you.
Keep quiet, please. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm reading the assessment of this by Rachel, and she says that use of the reserve will come at an opportunity cost of pipelined planned utilisation of the reserve. The fact is, we never know really what's coming in the future. When COVID hit, how would that have affected us if we weren't feeling like we were in a really good financial position here in West Suffolk? We can't go below the 5 million, which is our emergency funds. I just think that what has happened is that the feeling that I had that this budget was something to celebrate, and in particular, the cushion of what had been put in from our strategic priorities meant that having lost the new homes bonus, the thing that really I celebrate every year, which is the work and the money that we put into communities and supporting people who are isolated, who have mental health issues, who have been abused, that, you know, sometime in the future that could be at risk, because we're not in that same financial situation anymore. We are going to be losing £1.2 million. And we were told quite early on that actually we need to save money each year to make sure that we are going sustainable. So we managed to save that money, keep services going, and actually run a very ambitious future programme. So I'm worried that it could be compromised in some way. So I would just ask people to bear that in mind. And as it stands at the moment, I don't know, I had something I was really excited about, and I'm no longer sure that it is as secure as I thought it was.
Thank you, Councillor Higgins. Councillor London, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. So we have a budget that was put together by the West Suffolk Working Partnership that has an amendment that was successfully passed by the Conservative group that was supported in part by Spectrum and Reform. So we have a budget which every single political group in this chamber has had some input in, and therefore I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be able to pass this. And I will be voting in favour of this budget. Thank you.
Councillor Joe Mason, please.
Thank you, Chair. I certainly welcome the comments of Councillor London. Like Councillor Clark, people in our towns will feel that their voices have been heard. The two shopkeepers that I referenced in my speech, which was unnecessarily long at the beginning, I do apologise. Those weren't my words. I am a little bit bruised. The suggestions that this was political, actually not at all. Right from the onset, I was seeking viewpoints from community. I wouldn't have brought it forward to the group. I wouldn't have brought it in conversation with people from other members from other parties if I didn't feel that it came from a genuine place. In that regard, I do resent the suggestion that it was political. I did have some mild problems with the budget. During the budget briefing, I did ask the question, where is the transformation, cost reductions, savings, cost avoidance, which is the general job of any council? That doesn't mean cuts necessarily at all. And I didn't feel that that job of work was actually done in the budget. I didn't raise it at PASC. I didn't spot it then. It was something that I spotted afterwards, and it came through in the budget briefing. So I do think there's opportunities still. And in fact, the chief exec made reference, but that actually is something that all the teams are working on, looking at those measures. It was just a shame that there were no targeted figures in the budget identifying those cost savings or transformation differences that could ease the budget. There's a lot of discussion about 1.2 million. It's up to that. There's a very good chance it won't be. There is one outcome, that footfall drops, in which case it could be that figure. There's another outcome where footfall could increase. Now, that's the whole point of a pilot, and it could be everything that we want it to be, but at the end we will know. But most of all, as in the people in Clare, I've got shop owners that didn't want to pay for the pavement licences. They will be delighted at the reduction in those charges, something that we've been waiting some time to have put in. So I welcome that. I would like to thank members across the chamber. For those who didn't vote for it, I hope that you can now get behind it. It puts together a package that creates a thriving town. I will allay my fears about the lack of information regarding cost reductions, and I will be supporting this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. Councillor Stamp, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor London actually beat me to it and said more eloquently than I probably can. Democracy is sometimes uncomfortable, but it is democracy, and that's what we've seen this evening, I think. I do, contrary to what colleagues have said, I do feel proud of this budget, actually. I think it's now far more representative. I think residents have been heard. I think businesses have been heard. Businesses who are being crippled by business rates increase and various other, I hear it every day in my day job, as it were. And I feel that we've all had an input. For the first time in 3 years, actually, I feel that we've all been involved. Every councillor in the chamber has been involved in this debate. Consultation, I have to say, with councillors and engagement with councillors is something that has been lacking. And tonight I just feel really relieved and a little glimmer of hope that maybe things are changing. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stamp. Councillor Richard O'Driscoll, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. So the amendment was passed, and as has been pointed out, that's democracy. So we're now in a position where we have a much changed budget from the one that some of us came to consider tonight, and others have indicated how they will be voting. I'll be voting against, not because I don't accept the democratic decision to amend the original motion, but because I'm trying to think about the impact this will have moving forward. So we'll take money out of reserves, substantial amounts of money out of reserves, £600,000 per year for the next 2 years, if this is passed. And if it's a success, what do we do then? Because those reserves are gone. If we take more out of reserves, we'll be finding ourselves in an unsustainable place in relation to reserves. We will be at risk. So the only place that we can take that money from in 2 years' time will be directly from services. So what's it going to be? Is it going to be our homelessness services, our community services, our support for leisure organisations? I think it's quite wrong to assume this will have no impact on revenue going forward. And as people vote, I think it's something I would urge them to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Driscoll. Councillor Hoffensberger, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Firstly, I'd like to state that I think any amendment to a budget is by no means an insult to our Section 151 officers or the people that work. I totally appreciate that the hard work that has gone into any budget setting, that's councillors and officers alike. And I'd like to thank the Section 151 officer on her advice on an amendment to get to the point where it is a balanced amendment. And actually, I think it's now the budget as we have before us, as amended, is something to be proud of. As Councillor Stamp has said, we can now say to the residents, to the businesses, that we as West Suffolk are listening to you. We understand you. We want to do something about it. So I think actually listening to what our residents and our businesses are saying is something to be very proud of, and we should be proud of the amended budget as before us today.
Thank you, Councillor Hoffensberger. As I have no further people wishing to speak, I will return to Councillor Waterman, who reserved his right to speak at the end of the debate. Thank you.
Many thanks, Chair, and many thanks to each and every councillor who's spoken so eloquently in this debate. We've heard from some councillors of a particular party that they're listening to their residents, as if they're the only ones who listen to their residents, as if they're the only ones who have the success of the district as their aim. I do actually find that quite offensive. I know that every single councillor in this room takes what their residents say seriously and listens very carefully to every business leader and anyone else who has a vested interest in the success of West Suffolk. So clearly, from the words that we've heard spoken, this was a politically motivated amendment. I've noticed as well some very disrespectful whispering, I can hear it now, and chattering coming from the Conservative group, and I think that's appalling, and I think I'd like to invite, after the meeting, the leader of the Conservative group to apologise to me for that behaviour. When it comes to the new budget as amended...
Can we stop whispering and commenting, please? Thank you. Allow the speaker to speak. Have some respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. When it comes to the now amended budget, there are serious unintended consequences, and I'm sure the consequences that would arise from it are not intended. But as Councillor Mason said himself, there were things about the budget that he didn't spot as it went through PASC or other committees, and therefore he didn't comment on. And that really is the problem here. We've been presented with something which looks very attractive superficially, but we do know that going forward it creates serious revenue problems for this council, and it effectively puts strain on revenue next year because you can only spend reserves once. It sets up an ongoing revenue demand, and as other people have said, that will result in us having to, as a council, make economies where we wouldn't otherwise have wanted to. I mean, let's be frank, what we're talking about if this happens is we're making cuts elsewhere to pay for this. Now, that might be fine if what we have proposed is going to work. We don't know if it will work or not. It's an experiment with £1.2 million of our taxpayers' money, and I think that's irresponsible. So I will be voting against this budget in the hope that it fails, and I will then be very happy, along with my colleagues, to negotiate a way forward that doesn't create these dangerous financial pitfalls for this council and also for the unitary authority that will replace us. So let me be clear. I am urging everybody to vote against the revised budget so that we can have a sensible, considered, cool-headed look at how we can move forward without taking with us the problems that this, and I'm sure it's unintentional, motion has created. So as I say, I will be voting against. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Waterman. I will now return to Councillor Hine to close the debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Like everyone else, I believe in democracy. Democracy is hard fought for and is very important. So I accept the fact that more people supported the budget amendment. It gives me personally it gives me a dilemma, because on the one hand, as I said, you can only spend reserves once. If you lose any flexibility with your reserves, then you're possibly looking at service reductions in the future. Now, we know we've been very prudent, and we know that we can withstand over 600,000 potentially in year one. But the Section 151 officer, I just want to say to everyone, if you look at it, I think it was page 2, and where it says here, members would need to ensure this doesn't drop below the 5 million policy level, currently estimated at the moment of 5.855. So you can see we're very close to that. So it's highly likely, and it assumes there'll be no other calls on that particular fund. You can see that actually you're very close to that 5 million policy level. So what you're actually voting for is you're voting to do something that actually is potentially quite dangerous, and it's going to take you below that, if not in the first year. If it doesn't do it in the first year, it would in the second year without savings. Whether you call them savings or transformations, they're basically cuts in staff or services. So what do I come to this? How can I, with a sensible head on, having come up with a sustainable budget and having said to you that doing this is not very wise, I can't possibly vote for the amendment, because I think it's foolish and foolhardy, and it doesn't seem to me to be keeping us safe and following all the rules and everything else with having a balanced budget. So, yeah, I think I'm going to have to vote against it.
Thank you, Councillor Hine. I will now take the vote on the substantive motion as amended, which, as required by law, will be recorded. So therefore, I will invite the monitoring officer to apply this procedure.
Again, may I please ask that you do not use your microphones for this purpose, and speak loudly when I call your name, whether you are for, against, abstaining. Richard Alcock.
James.
Michael Anderson. Has he gone? Peter Armitage.
Against.
John Augustine.
For.
Sarah Broughton. Tony Brown.
For.
Carol Bull.
For.
Mike Chester. Patrick Chung.
For.
Nick Clark. Andy Drummond.
For.
Paul Furman.
For.
Susan Glossop. Pat Hanlon.
Against.
Donna Higgins. Diane Hind.
Against.
Rachel Hood. Becky Hoffensberger.
For.
Ian Holder.
For.
Jan Jarvis.
Against.
Gerald Kelly.
Against.
Marina Lindberg. John London. Aaron Lucarini.
For.
Victor Lucanik.
Against.
Charlie Lynch.
For.
Birgitta Major. Margaret Marks.
For.
Andrew Martin. Joe Mason.
For.
Sarah Mildmay White. Laura Jane Miller-Jones. Richard O'Driscoll.
Against.
Sarah Pugh. Karen Richardson. Richard Rout. Marion Rushbrook. Jules Savage. Marilyn Sayer. Ian Shipp. Andrew Smith.
For.
David Smith. Liz Smith. Andrew Speed.
For.
Karen Soons. Sarah Stamp. Frank Stennett. David Taylor. Jim Thorndike. Julia Wakelam. Don Waldron. Cliff Waterman. Adrian Whittle. Indy Wijanayaka. Bill Whittam.
Against.
Kevin Yarrow. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, can we settle down, please? Thank you. Thank you. The motion is carried. There were 30 in favour, 24 against and 1 abstention. So the motion is carried. Thank you very much. I will now move on, if I may, to item number 11, the review.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Can you make a adjourn? Literally just 5 minutes.
I would.
It's up to you if you want to have a 5
A potential proposal. I will give you 5 minutes. Thank you. Then, Councillor Offensberger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the amendment. And I appreciate it's been a long night for everyone. There was a proposal that we needed to put to the group, but we are happy to carry on with the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, upon that, item number 11, review of political balance and appointment to committees 2025 to 2026, and I will call upon Councillor Waterman, Leader of the Council, to introduce this item and move the motion, please. Thank you.
Many thanks, Chair. So this is a review of political balance and the appointment of councillors to committees. Members may recall that at Council in December last year, we received a narrative item regarding the formation of the West Suffolk Reform UK political group. In January 2025, I think it's 2026 actually, Teresa, naughty. In January 2026, the monitoring officer received formal notice that Councillor Don Waldron had joined West Suffolk Reform UK together with a request that the political balance for appointments to committees be reviewed. The revised political balance and proposed allocation of seats is set out in Appendix A to this report. I move that the Council approves the recommendation as set out on page 177 of the agenda pack. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Waterman. Would anybody wish to second this motion?
Happy to second, Chair, and nothing to add.
Would anybody like to speak on this? So I will move straight back to Councillor Waterman to close the debate.
I'm happy to move to the vote, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Waterman. We will go to the vote, and this time it's not a named vote, you'll be pleased. All those in favour? Any against? I'm getting there. Any abstentions? Thank you. That is carried. Item number 12, which is calendar of meetings 2026 to 2027, and I will call upon Councillor Hind to introduce this item and to move the motion, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Members may recall that each year the Council is required to adopt a calendar of meetings for the forthcoming municipal year. The proposed calendar for May 26 to May 27 was attached at Appendix A of our papers. The calendar has taken into account known events which could have a widespread impact on members' attendance at meetings. No venues are stipulated on the calendar, as this allows for meetings to be held at West Suffolk House, Milton Hall Hub or other venues as appropriate, and in liaison with the relevant chair of any committee. Under current legislation, some meetings are also able to be operated entirely virtually, for example, the Staff Consultative Panel and the Financial Resilience Subcommittee, and it's envisaged that that will continue at the discretion of the chair of the meeting. It's also worth noting that the government's response to its consultation on enabling remote attendance of proxy voting at council, cabinet and committee meetings may inform the operation of meetings during the 26-27 municipal year. The practice of scheduling additional reserve meetings of council and cabinet has continued, and these meetings will be convened if needed. In the context of LGR, including the expected shadow authority arrangements, please note that this might have some impact on the meetings in the 26-27 year. Meetings might therefore be subject to change or additional meetings added. So I move that the Council approves the recommendation as set out in the report.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hind. Could I call on somebody to second this motion, please?
Happy to second, Mr. Chair, but nothing to add.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Nobody wishing to speak? So on that, I will move straight to the back to Diane, yeah? To close the debate.
Well, I have nothing to add to that, and there's no questions, so I'd just like to close it and go to the motion, the vote, please.
Thank you very much. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? 4. Yeah, sorry. So the motion is carried. Thank you very much indeed. Item number 13, any other business? We have no items of other business to consider on this occasion. So I now announce that business is concluded for this council meeting, and I thank you all very much for attending, and I also thank you on a very difficult meeting at points, but generally behaviour wasn't too bad. Thank you.
It's a bit